The movie opens with two recently released criminals preparing to kidnap someone. Tom and Mark steal a van from a public parking lot and change the numbers on it so that the police cannot track them. Next, they visit a hardware store to purchase tools to keep the kidnapped person captive. Having rented an old, run-down flat, the guys break in and take out the bed and sheath the walls with soundproofing material. The next morning they arrive in the city center and wait for their markdown as soon as a stunning girl goes by the car. The boys excavate a tiny hole for the money, line the interior of the van with cling film, and change their clothes to complete preparations for the kidnapping. Stella is dragged into the vehicle by Tom and Mark Rush after she throws a sack over her head, and they tie her to metal. Loopholes to prevent the prisoner's escape and stop anyone from finding the girl. When the kidnappers arrived at the leased flat, they shackled the girl to the bed and then changed Stella's clothes. Tom pulls out the battery from her phone but suggests to save it in case it comes in handy. The kidnappers change into new clothes and don masks in order to prevent Stella from recognizing them after Mark takes multiple pictures of the hostage in front of a fresh newspaper. After gathering all the dirty clothing in a trash bag. Returning to the prisoner's room before leaving, Mark instructs Tom to check on Stella and her condition every 10 minutes. The guide obediently complies with the request of a more seasoned criminal and peeks into the bedroom to make sure that the girl is still alive. Mark demands her father's email address and mobile number in order to contact him and demand a ransom. A short time later, the kidnapper copies the girl's photos to a removable drive and goes to an internet cave to contact her father. A few hours later, Mark comes home and provides the cell phone Stella needs to call her parents. Realizing they need to keep an eye on her condition, the men enter her room and give her a drink. The kidnapper reminds Stella that they can hurt her and no one will hear it, so it is best to obey. The girl calmly drinks water and becomes familiar with the rules of being in captivity. If she needs to use the bathroom, she must make a special gesture. She then shows one finger, which she turns into if she wants to go big, or two fingers, which she turns into if she wants to go small. Stella promptly signals with one finger that she needs to use the loo after learning the rules. The boys use a plastic container that is conveniently shaped for this so as not to undo the captain's handcuffs. Tom is not in the mood to eat when the kidnappers decide to do so later. After dinner, Mark returns to the internet cafe. Tom looks at the girl's picture and looks into her terrified eyes. Feeling compassion, he checks on the girl and approaches her. Stella indicates that she wants to use the loo again, but when Tom approaches her, she refuses to go. Tom realizes that this is stress, and the man is doubting the accuracy of the ACT, but it's too late to back out and he needs to finish what he started. The criminal is shot and stunned at one point by Stella, but Mark manages to throw the girl on the bed, remove the weapon, and chain her once more. He warns her not to tell Mark about what happened or he will kill them both. Soon after, the partner returns to the flat and says the girl's father does not want to pay. The hardest part is coming, and they will need strength, so Mark tells Tom to go to sleep. A few hours later, he woke up a buddy and discussed a strategy to pressure his father. Armed with a camera and a pruner, they went back to the girl's room to shoot a video for her father. While Mark is copying and viewing the recorded video, his partner notices that Stella is pregnant by him. It's time to feed the girl, but Tom is so anxious that he forgets to put on his mask. The prudent Mark points it out to him, and Mark tries to feel the girl's pulse. Mark wants to cut Stella's finger and insists that she turn to her father. The girl tearfully asks to stop and declares that she has been pregnant for 4 months. When Stella and Tom discover a shell casing on the floor, they become alarmed because they fear that Mark will use the evidence against them to kill both of them. Tom tries to approach the bed softly, but Mark observes his peculiar behavior. Happily, after feeding Stella, Tom picks up a spoon that has fallen to the ground and stows the cartridge case in his pocket. The partner is already breaking in the door, so Tom has no choice but to swallow the cartridge case in an attempt to save himself. Tom rushes to dispose of the evidence and goes to the toilet. The guy throws the cartridge case down the toilet and flushes it in the hopes that the problem will be solved shortly. However, a short time later, he realizes that the cartridge case is still at the bottom of the toilet and tries in vain to push it through. Mark grows suspicious. Even though Mark finds it odd that his companion was in the loo, as soon as the partner departs for the internet cafe, the room is completely odor-free. Tom looks at the calendar and, after entering the girl's room, is persuaded once more that Stella is pregnant. He inquires as to why she hid and whether the pregnancy was a deception. Stella enables him to rub her belly while berating the man for abandoning her at the worst possible time. When Tom acknowledges that he did not kidnap the girl by accident because he is aware of her wealthy father and told Mark about her, Stella starts to feel unwell and is on the verge of passing out. As soon as Tom is handcuffed, Stella tries to call for help but is unsuccessful while the guy is trying to get the keys lying nearby. Realizing that the police will not be able to help her, Stella calls the police and returns to the room to retrieve the keys. In the meantime, Tom noticed that the pipe by the bed was broken and was waiting for the girl to come. It turned out that all of this was a distraction to capture the kidnapper. When Mark returns to the flat, Tom runs into him and discovers that everything is set up for additional action. In the meantime, Mark releases the captive's legs and arms and notices the cell phone that has fallen out of her pocket. The criminal in a rage interrogates the girl and she calls the name of Tom, continuing the interrogation with passion. Tom races to the parking lot to get the van closer and finds documents confirming Stella's pregnancy history. He realizes that the girl did not lie and that this is really his child. When Mark discovers that Stella and Tom are acquainted and that they have even met, he is outraged and actually knocks his head against the wall until he spots a gunshot embedded in the wall and realizes that there is more going on here. After learning everything from Stella, Mark realizes that his partner cannot be trusted. When Tom returns to the flat, his partner tries to talk to him and see if he wants to confess anything to him. They both appear to be extremely nervous but do not reveal themselves or say that they have learned something new. The kidnappers give the girl an injection and take her out of town as soon as she falls asleep. Once they arrive at the old boathouse, the kidnappers chain the girl to the armature because Mark realizes that his partner cannot be trusted because he conceals his acquaintance with Stella and everything that occurred in the flat during his absence. The initial plan was for Tom to stay with Stella and take care of her while Mark went to fetch the money, but Mark now wants the man to go with him. Mark asks his partner to hand over the keys to the handcuffs as he no longer needs them. Mark is not at all alarmed by Tom's concern that Stella won't live if they don't come back. When they arrive in the forest, Tom is wary of their strange and enigmatic partner. Before getting out of the van, he puts a battery in Stella's phone so that they can be found together. The partners then venture far into the forest and follow the tree where they were instructed to leave a ransom, but they soon realize that no one is there. Tom is tasked by Mark to visit the tree and search for cash. Guy thinks they were duped because the case is empty, but it turns out that everything was a trap. The forest Mark showed Stella's father will serve as the final resting place for his lover. As soon as the kidnapper loses his alertness and pushes him and tries to go, Tom realizes he only has a few minutes left to live and forces Mark to remember their acquaintance. The man manages to flee before Mark's partner approaches after Mark shoots after him and wounded him after receiving the money. Mark comes to the boathouse after changing into a new automobile and outfit. In order to eliminate the last witness to the crime, he has prepared an injection for the girl that would cause her to pass out forever. To save his life, Tom arrives just in time and strikes his partner in the head. Mark then shoots Tom again, rendering him unable to stand. Stella then takes advantage of a scuffle between them to kick Mark in the leg, causing him to drop his gun. Tom quickly picks it up and shoots at his partner. With his last remaining strength, the wounded guy pulls the keys from Mark's pocket and throws them closer to the girl. When Stella realizes that the ransom money will allow her to begin a new life, she calms down and heads forth in search of a better future.